back again from the travels. Actually, you're still gone, so I mean,
I can't even call this traveling.
it wasn't really not because it's like
I just plop down wherever I am like a toad. This is my thing. I don't know.
like a toad.
I don't know where that came from. So you went to work, I guess, Michigan.
Yeah, I went
for
to
2
that
days.
other job.
And you're the one that actually pays you. And what did you did something? You did something.
We did. I think we've talked briefly about it on here, I guess, pre-release info or whatever. But we released the first beta of Multiplicity 4, which has been since I've been there, the biggest effort we've undergone because this is
How long has it been since the last version?
Like 2014.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
It might be 2015.
I was going to say, okay, wow. Okay. I knew it was,
Yeah,
I thought it was a few years.
When we opened up the code, we had to go, and
exactly.
some bats flew out, and
it was written in Visual Basic.
Yeah. And so,
okay.
For people who aren't familiar with this product, what it allows you to do, it's KVM, it's a software KVM, so keyboard, video, and mouse. So this is all on your own local network. It allows you to share one keyboard and mouse on up to tons of different devices. So you can just move what we call seamlessly across devices. It also allows you to what we call KVM, which is think remote desktop, but only on your network. So you can connect to another box, you can stream the monitor, and it's extremely high fidelity. We actually use it for gaming internally. It's so high fidelity.
Geez.
So, well, you think about it, like if you have, when you're testing games or whatever else, you have to test Intel, you have to test AMD, you now also have to test ARM. And so GPUs matter. So being able to just connect to a box, stream it full screen, high fidelity, be able to play games, and then close that connection. And so you can do that across everything. I use it literally every day here for this podcast. So I will go upstairs and then I KVM into this box that we are recording on, and I edit everything right here.
I love it. Yeah, this is like, so I'm in a weird position because I write about Windows, and I'm right now actively updating the book I have. So they're, the kind of marquee startup products like Start 11, Fences and whatnot, I can't really use.
Right.
Even though I want to, right? If I was just me, I would.
Oh yeah. No, I totally get it because you're right about base vanilla.
Yeah, I just can't, it's hard. It's difficult for me because I really do want to use this stuff, but Multiplicity is something I could use and will use. And this is awesome for me because one of the issues I run into is I do that Hands on Windows podcast, which is all screen grab stuff. And it is a nightmare of configuration every freaking time. Like it's horrible. So like I'm actually really excited for this.
Yeah.
So this is going to be kind of interesting for me personally, but yeah, cool. It's going to work on an ARM.
Yes, it does. We don't say that it works on ARM right now, but if you're listening to this, dear listener, it does work on, like you can go install it and it'll work on ARM. The feature that does not work on ARM is what we call seamless display, which is one of the newest features. So if you have a desktop PC and you have a Windows laptop, you can plop your Windows laptop down next to your desktop PC and turn it into a native monitor that shows up in display properties. You can drag window, like it feels like a native display. It's just a secondary monitor.
Okay. And this is wireless over your
home.
Oh yeah,
wireless. Yeah. It's over your network. And
this is yep.
Yeah. It was, I know I think we talked about it a little bit previously to this podcast. Like this feature is actually built into Windows, but
yes, it is. And it's
a pain
garbage.
in the butt to get up and running. And I know I'm pitching
It's the most inobvious thing in the world. In the past year, sometime for Windows Weekly, I wanted a second display for the whatever it is. And now I have one, but I didn't at the time. So at the last second, I was like, well, hold on a second. I know Windows does this. And you can't find this. I mean, for one thing, I know, I had to look it up. I mean, I wrote it, it's in the book, but I had to go look. Because it's like, it's so curiously difficult. Like you think this would just be
it's
something that was just there, but.
I totally get it. If people use it, it's fine. Like I don't care at the end of the day. The reason we included it was such a natural next step. Like we do keyboard and video and mouse across all different devices. Like this was the next great hurdle for us to do. And to be super clear for everybody listening, we didn't hijack what Microsoft did. We completely wrote our own.
Yeah, I was going to say we're not building on hot garbage. You did your own thing. So
I can't
wait to do this.
It just all
I'm gonna
fits in. Now, I will tell you, it is pretty solid. The disconnects. So we
Well,
implemented IPv6 support too, which was a
right.
non-trivial endeavor.
hmm
And one of the things that was holding us back from shipping for a while is just random disconnects. Right? If you're using this, the whole point is it has to be rock solid. If it's not, then it's not a
Yeah.
good product. It's not trustworthy. And typically the way it's working right now is if you can get it up and running, not if, but when you get it up and running, as long as it's running, it's fine.
hmm
But if you have trouble getting it running, then typically there's something happening on your network that we're still trying to figure out. So if you get it working, you are perfectly good and running for a long time.
Okay.
I mean, I took last week, actually the prior 2 weeks, I took all my team's work calls on a secondary display monitor and
Right.
just streamed 1080p video across, just like, trying to kill this stuff. And it held its own. So,
Yeah. Good. Okay.
and that was all
Yeah.
wireless.
I mean, this
too.
is, again, I mean, you guys make a bunch of stuff that's really useful, but this one, it's like, this is
This one is,
curiously perfect.
it's also like, I think the first thing I said, the most difficult app we build, because you're not just building
Yeah.
an app.
It's low level.
You're building two apps. You have to build the primary device. So the way it works is you designate one device as primary and everything else as a secondary device. So you have to build a primary device app. You have to build a secondary device app. Then you have to build the complete networking stack that integrates all this together. And so unlike Start 11, where it's like, hey, if it fails on this box.
Yeah.
But with Multiplicity, it could fail on the box, on the secondary box. It could fail at the router. And so it's like the debug techniques we used and whatever, the dumps and logs, and yeah. There's a reason why it wasn't updated for 10 years.
Right.
But we're confident where we're at. We've gotten good feedback so far. It's not perfect, but it's beta 1. So
Yeah. Good.
anyways. Whatever else. Google might get broken up.
Yeah.
Speaking of, it's like, whew.
Man, people are really freaking out over this, but this could have and maybe should have happened to Microsoft, would have happened to Microsoft were it not for some judicial malpractice, basically. But I think the more likely outcome is probably some form of settlement or something. But the thing is, Google has not yet bridged that divide where they're even pretending to care about that.
Yeah.
So this is kind of Microsoft pre-Brad Smith, the belligerent, we didn't do anything wrong, what the hell, we're just innovating kind of a point of their careers or whatever. But they're going to have to get there quick because this could happen. It really could happen. Yes, years down the road, lots of appeals, et cetera. But I mean, they're just as evil as you think they are. I mean, this has to happen. So, and by this, I don't mean them being broken up, but some structural behavioral change that ensures that they're not able to abuse this monopoly that they have. Right. So there's all kinds of different ways that could happen, and there's all kinds of time before it happens, but it's going to happen. They don't walk away with everything they have today. They just don't. There's no version of that.
Yeah, they got hit pretty hard maybe I guess it's just this week. This week feels like a month.
The past week, past 7 days, like between Epic and
I was gonna say the Epic stuff where they have to
Play Store
support
stuff. Yeah,
third-party stores with their own apps have to be allowed in there
for 3 years, and open up the Play Store to competitors and let them use your catalog, and it's just crazy. Like it is amazing. It's awesome. This stuff should have happened years ago, and it would have been far less painful for everyone involved. But Google just looks at Apple and says, we're going to do the same thing. And Apple does horrible stuff. So unfortunately for Apple, though, if and when all this Google stuff comes down, that people are going to turn their attention to Apple.
That was my next question. And I don't know the answer to this, but why isn't Apple like,
so they fared better against Epic than Google did in court, although they won on one. Epic did win on one major point, arguably the most major point. But this is how precedent works. So Apple, in their case against Epic, is citing new precedent, if you will, that's occurred since. That's what governments and other companies will do when this Google stuff happens. It won't matter what the evidence is. You have the same exact monopoly that Google does, obviously. And there you go. So we'll see. Look, the world is going to change. I've kind of been saying this for a while, but it's just a matter of time. The thing about Apple and Google, though, is that it behooves them to proactively set the agenda by settling rather than letting the courts wind down. And so for today, they're just playing like a waiting game, right? So it makes sense for them to stall for now because they can keep generating the revenues that these stores generate. But at some point, they're going to have to say, okay, look, we'd like to have some word in what happens. So, something as simple as their app fees are ridiculous, right? So they could come back and say, because the government's going to say, look, MasterCard charges 3%. What is it that you're doing that is more than that? And maybe you could add a couple of percent for whatever, because it's an app store and there's different stuff going on there. But they could just say, look, we'll do 10%, which is still extravagant and ridiculous. And that's the type of settlement that would probably fly because it's still so much better than what they're charging now, right? And we'll see. I'm just making stuff up at this point, but
I mean, it's
you have to, right? So for now, the waiting game makes sense. It pays off for them financially, but in the long run, they're going to be able to present it as them proactively doing the right thing for everybody. And look how great we are and altruistic and blah, 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 whatever. And the world will be a better place regardless. I don't care. They can have their marketing moment, but this stuff's going to change. It just is. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy watching it happen. Because I've been so frustrated by this for so long. And now it's like this wave. It's just, it's crazy how much of it there is. Microsoft was a big deal. There are now a dozen or more of these cases against a handful of companies. Crazy. It is a crazy, crazy thing. But this is what happens when a handful of companies have more power each than most governments on earth. It's past time to regulate these companies. They're so terrible. Oh, but thanks for the career, guys. That was good too.
Minus that little.
Minus that little part, yeah.
That little detail at the end of the day.
Well, I mean, if I really felt that my career was solely, at a gift from Microsoft, I guess I'd be a little bit more of a cheerleader, but that's not how I view it. So whatever. If Microsoft could explain themselves correctly and wasn't so terrible, I wouldn't need this job. My job wouldn't be necessary.
Thankfully, they are.
Oh yeah, no, I'm going for a long time. This is plenty of terrible to go around.
The new Passkeys stuff too coming to Windows actually is because it integrates with 1Password, which is good.
Yeah. So it's, I mean, they kind of, it's almost like they're test marketing it with 1Password or whatever. It's going to be open to everybody, but it's still not there, right? Like if you look at that post, the image they have is they literally say like, this is just a drawing we made. Like it's a proposed user interface. So we'll see. The passkey stuff that's in Windows today is beyond basic. It's pointless. Most people would never even know it was there. It doesn't do anything. But yeah, they're finally going to make this what it should be and make passkeys portable, which is what everyone's doing, right? So it's very clear that between 1Password and Bitwarden and Dashlane and Proton and others, I'm sure, the FIDO Alliance is working on what will become a recognized specification for how to do this so that it's the same for everybody. But making passkeys portable is so key. And then passkeys have a bad rep, but I think what this is really about is just making our online accounts passwordless, in day-to-day use, right? And that's what matters to people. There's still this whole divide between convenience and security, which is a huge problem. I was just saying this yesterday, like I know people my age who know better, are smart, and they don't put a passcode on their phone, because it's too inconvenient. I mean, the notion of them doing 2FA unless being forced to by certain accounts is just inconceivable. So we still have to get the world to that point where it's okay to have to look at your phone for 1 second, to do something secure. But having that capability right on your computer is huge. So it's all there, right? We have Windows Hello. We have Windows Hello ESS soon, or in some computers. And, most of us are used to using our phone for this, right? You can look at it, you can use your finger, whatever. But it's like a lot of things. It will be great eventually. And sometimes it is great, but I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah. We'll get there.
Just like
antitrust.
tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.